Greetings to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Thank you for tuning in this blessed Sabbath. Greet one another in the chat as you come in, and if you're watching this later, put some nice comments down in the comments section, build some relationships, and again, thanks for joining us here at Torah to the Tribes. You can connect to us and with us at torahtothetribes.com/connect. And those of you that do support the ministry, thank you so much for your donations. You can always donate again by going to torahtothetribes.com/donate/ or you can text Torah to that number down below in the description. We are in the Wisdom of Solomon, the Book of Wisdom from the Apocrypha. I'm going to stick with the Brenton translation so that I don't confuse you all. Some put some comments up last week. What translation is he in? I thought he loved the Brenton Septuagint. So I pulled out the Brenton Septuagint for you this week so that we can all track together in chapter 3, the Wisdom of Solomon, or the Book of Wisdom from the Brenton Septuagint, the Apocrypha. Let's see if we can get some wisdom today. Chapter 3 and verse 1. I'll read the body of the text to you. It's going to be short, it's going to be sweet, but it is going to be a two-parter this week. And I'm actually going to do part A today and part B next week. What a concept. I didn't do that with chapter 2, did I? We are going to begin in chapter 3 and verse 1. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Elohim, and there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. And they're going from us to a better destruction, to utter destruction, but they are in peace. For though they are punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For Elohim proved them and found them worthy for himself. Look at verse 6 and 7. I'm going to focus on that a lot today. As gold in the furnace hath he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. And in the time of their visitation they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. Who's feeling like they're running to and fro as sparks among the stubble right now in their life? I know I am. We're going to be camping out on verses 6 and 7 and building that as the premise for today's teaching. In verse 8, they shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy are to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. But the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken Yahweh. For whoso despiseth wisdom and nature, he is miserable, and their hope is vain. Their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. Verse 12. Their wives are foolish, and their children wicked. Their offspring is cursed. Wherefore blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which hath not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls. And blessed is the eunuch, which with his hands hath wrought no iniquity, nor imagined wicked things against Elohim. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith, and an inheritance in the temple of Yahweh, more acceptable to his mind. For glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fall away. Verse 16. As for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection, and the seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. For though they live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. Or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial, for horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. So chapter 3, brethren, begins by delving in to the mystery of human suffering, human tribulation, but ultimately, verse 6 and 7, did we catch it? Divine purification, the refiner's fire. Why do we suffer in life? Is there a redemptive potential that comes through suffering? When we accept suffering, accepting the crucible of this life, and then being received into paradise in the next, is that how it goes? It makes me wonder. Or how about if we don't accept the crucible of this life, non-acceptance, then we would suffer in the crucible of the next life. What I'm suggesting to you is that our suffering and trials in this life, this is the crucible. And by accepting that in this life, we will go into paradise into the next. But by non-acceptance of the crucible of this life, trying to live our best life now in rebellion, well then we will go into the crucible the next life. So which one will it be? He says that his burden is light and easy. I would rather be in the crucible of this life that is light and easy and be in the paradise of the next life than try to live my best life now and be in rebellion and non-acceptance of this life's crucible to then go into the crucible of the next life and the severity of it. That is the premise for today's teaching. Let's see if I can build it, and let's see if we can dig out some gems within this narrative of chapter 3. Why do we suffer? What is the purpose? And is there a redemptive purpose in it in this life? Is there a redemptive potential that comes through acceptance? Accepting the crucible of this life and being received into paradise in the next. It makes me wonder. But on the other hand, what happens if you decide of rebellion in this life? Non-acceptance of the crucible of this life. Wanting to live your best life now and then not being received into paradise in the next. But Hades, the fire, and then Hades, of course, is thrown into the crucible, the lake of fire, for an aeon. An aeon is an age. An age belongs to an age, some longer than others, however long it takes to refine the soul. So we're going to look at the ultimate salvation of the righteous today. We're going to look at the purification of the wicked and the transformative process of being refined like gold here in chapter 3. The chapter begins, like I said, with a view of the righteousness experience in this life, which may seem like tribulation and hardship, but ultimately this life is supposed to be the refining process for the soul so that we can be in paradise in the next. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Elohim, and no torment will ever touch them. Verse 1. You see, Yahweh is sovereign. He is sovereign over the righteous. So even though we are still subjected to suffering in this life, we will be preserved by Yahweh's rachamim, by his grace, by his mercy. You're not forsaken. I am not forsaken. Rather, I'm being refined. Paul said, when he spoke to the Romans in chapter 8, verse 17. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of Elohim and co-heirs in Mashiach. If indeed we share in his sufferings, in order that we may also share in his glory. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. That's the refiner's fire. That's gold being purified in the crucible of this life. The crucible of life, then, is the key to a true walk. It's meant to be as a fire sometimes. This life is supposed to be as a fire sometimes, refining, not as punishment, but as a process of spiritual purification, just like gold is refined in the furnace, as Malachi says in the 3rd chapter. So what does that mean, Matthew? Well, then my trials, your trials, brethren, our trials as believers are supposed to be the refining fire that burns away the impurity of our lives, burns away our stinking thinking, burns away our generational beliefs and iniquities of our forefathers, and refines our souls so that we can get cleaned up here, so that we can shine as pure gold, just as we read most recently when we were reading from the words of the prophet Isaiah in the 48th chapter and the 10th verse specifically. In Matthew chapter 11 verse 28, it is written, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." The crucible of this life, brethren, it is easy and light in comparison to the crucible of the next life, which will be severe for those who have rebelled. Yahusha offers an invitation that speaks directly with the very theme here in chapter 3 of the Wisdom of Solomon, the refining through life's trials. The offer from our Lord, our Master, our Elohim, is an offering of a light burden. It doesn't exactly exempt us from trials, though, brethren, but it gives us strength to endure those trials. This lightness is a direct contrast to the weight of sin, to the weight of rebellion, to the weight of the burdens of the flesh. Yahusha stands as the ultimate mediator between us and the Father, providing a path to redemption that transcends the suffering of this world. In 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 6, Peter speaks of the refining fire that tests whether our faith is legit. Are we really believers, or are we just going to tuck tail when it gets tough? In all this you should greatly rejoice, though, now for a little while, that you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of the greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, it may result in praise, glory, and honor when Yahushua HaMashiach is revealed more to you and I through our suffering and through our trials. Do you see him more clearly? Because in your suffering and your trials, you should press in and see him more clearly. Solomon, Paul, Isaiah, I believe they're drawing on a clear connection between suffering and refinement, comparing it to gold being refined in the fire, the smelting process that purges all impurities. The crucible of this life, then, brethren, then becomes the process through which our character is refined in which our strength is made right and in which our faith is tested, but ultimately solidified and strengthened. I'm going to look at six topics and break them down for you. Number one, we're going to look at the definitions of paradise, Sheol, and Hades. Because with our translations, we can sometimes, hell, Gehenna, the crucible, it all gets confusing. So let's break down, number one, paradise, Sheol, and Hades. So Sheol is the Hebrew word, and Hades is the Greek word, and these are terms referring to the resting place of the dead. The dead go to Sheol in the Hebrew, and Hades in the Greek. Sheol in the Torah is used as a general term for the realm of the dead. It's a place where both the righteous and the unrighteous went pre-Yahusha. Remember the rich man and Lazarus? There was both the righteous and the unrighteous in Sheol, but there was a compartmentalized. There was the righteous part of Sheol called paradise, and then the unrighteous part where the rich man was. But that was pre-Yahusha, because at Yahusha's crucifixion, what did he do? He went and took captivity captive. He released one compartment, paradise, and the righteous went now to paradise, which is in the heavens above. So now the unrighteous, post-Yahusha, go to Sheol, and there's only one compartment there. And it's hot. And it's a crucible. And it's a refiner's fire. But the righteous no longer go down, they go up. But they go to the same place, but its location is different. They went to paradise then, and they go to paradise now. But paradise then was below, but paradise now is above. Are you confused? No, because I'm going to show you in Scripture. So, Sheol, the general term for the realm of the dead, a place where both the righteous and the unrighteous went pre-Yahusha, a place the wicked go awaiting the final judgment, and the term Hades in the Greek, well, it has the same meaning. Now, in Jonah chapter 2, Jonah describes being in the belly of Sheol whilst he was in the whale, because this metaphorically indicates a state of death or separation from Yahweh, but also it's a place of eventual hope and deliverance. Think about that. In Luke chapter 16, verse 23, the rich man and Lazarus are depicted as in Hades with a great chasm between them, verse 26, representing the separation between the righteous and the unrighteous before the exodus brought about by Yahusha. So that's key. That was before the exodus that was brought about by Yahusha. Now we're going to look at another term, the grave. The Hebrew word here is keber. Keber. The Hebrew word keber refers to the physical grave or tomb. Literally the earth where the body is buried. It's not a compartmentalized state like Sheol or Hades, but the physical burial site in the earth. Literally the hole in the ground. In Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7, it is written, "The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to Yahweh who gave it." Of course, this speaks to the physical return to the earth, the grave, and the soul's spiritual return to Yahweh. So now we're going to point number 2. There is an intermediate state, or the exodus from Hades. The exodus from Hades. In Luke chapter 9, verse 31, when Yahusha spoke with Moshe and Eliyahu, he literally spoke with them and they came up from Hades. They came up from the compartment called paradise in Hades on the Mount of Transfiguration. What happened? They discussed Yahusha's exodus. Read the text. Which he was about to accomplish in Jerusalem, it says. So what does that mean? It's referring to the freeing of the righteous souls who were held in Sheol or Hades, the compartment called paradise. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 8. When he ascended on high, he led captivity captive. Yahusha, through his death and resurrection, freed those righteous souls in Hades, bringing them to paradise in the third heaven. So paradise at Yahusha's exodus changed locations. It was in Hades and Sheol, and now it's in the third heaven. But the righteous always have gone and will go first to paradise. Pre-Yahusha, paradise was a compartment in Hades, Sheol. Post-Yahusha, post his exodus, paradise is above in the third heaven, the abode of the righteous. Matthew chapter 27, verse 52, it is written, after Yahusha's resurrections, many saints were raised and appeared to others. Of course, these were examples of those who were released from Hades after Mashiach's victory over death. Now we're on to section 3. The three heavens and paradise. Section 3, the three heavens and paradise. Are you guys tracking with me? Put it in the chat. Help one another along. Hopefully I'm making French to you. So, the third heaven, the realm where the righteous dwell. Paradise was removed from Sheol and placed in the third heaven. It's a place of communion with Yahweh, distinct from the earthly realm and even from the physical heavens. Of course, the sky and the stars, well, it's distinct from that. Paul mentions the third heaven in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2, as a place of divine revelation where you have the presence of Yahweh. 2 Corinthians 12:4, that he was caught up into paradise and heard inexpressible words which is not lawful for man to utter. Revelation chapter 2, verse 7, to him who overcomes, I will give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Yahweh. Now, we're going to get to the fourth section. The unbelieving dead that await resurrection. Number 4, the unbelieving dead that await the resurrection. So the souls of the unrighteous go to Sheol, Hades. They always have, and they always will. There is no compartment now, post-Exodus, because paradise is no longer there. It's above in the third heavens. So Sheol and Hades is Sheol and Hades. It's as hot as hell down in Sheol and Hades. Awaiting the resurrection is where the unrighteous go, and the final judgment. They don't remain in this state forever, though, but will ultimately be resurrected and judged. In John chapter 5, verse 28, it is written, do not marvel at this, for the hour is coming, in which all who are in the graves will hear his voice and come forth. All means all. Those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of condemnation. In Revelation chapter 20, verse 13, it is written, the sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Hades delivered up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to his works. Then death and Hades were cast into the crucible. Number 5, the refining process. Gehenna, the crucible. So Gehenna is the final punishment abode of the wicked, where they experience refinement through fire. In reality, it's a place of cleansing, not everlasting torment. Now, this is going to really rock some of your theology, because we've been mistaught. Let me back up. Gehenna, or the crucible, is the final punishment abode of the wicked, where they experience refinement through fire as gold. In reality, it's a place of cleansing, not everlasting torment, which aligns much more with the understanding of the lake of fire as a crucible. A crucible has a purpose. It's not there to torture the gold. It's there to get rid of impurities so that the gold can have a purpose. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 22, it is written, "But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says, 'You fool,' shall be in danger of hellfire." We're all going to be refined as gold, either in this life, it's light and easy, embracing this life as the crucible through acceptance, or non-acceptance of the crucible of this life, which will mean that you will be put in the crucible of the next life, whether by acceptance or non-acceptance. You choose. Choose this day and choose this life, who you will serve. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 13, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed as by fire, and the fire will test each one's work of what sort it is. In Mark 9:49, for everyone will be salted with fire. Everyone. So, is it possible? Is it possible? Is it probable? Is it possible that Yahweh's ultimate purpose is the restoration of all things? What a concept. After passing through a period of judgment and purification, the crucible or fire, all will be restored to communion with Yahweh, because the Waymaker made the way. Yahusha is the mediator whose transaction, listen, if you miss this, you're going to think that I'm getting into some kind of heathen theology. So don't miss this. If you miss this, you're going to think I've gone off the tracks. So don't miss this. Yahusha is the mediator. I'm going to say it really slowly because people love to say Matthew's gone off the tracks. Yahusha is the mediator whose transaction of acceptance opened the way into the kingdom to be honored by his Father. Are the gates to the kingdom always closed, or are they always opened, brethren? And who is the one who is the waymaker that opened the door? There is no way in but through Yahusha. But Yahusha's work is bigger than what you and I thought through traditional religious teaching methods. In 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 4, it is written, who desires all men, how many men? Some men? All men to be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. Yahweh desires all men to be saved. But it will be through fire. In Philippians chapter 2, verse 9, it is written, therefore Yahweh also has highly exalted him and given him the name which is above every name. And at the name of Yahusha, every knee should bow, of those in heaven and those on earth and those under the earth. And that every tongue should confess that Yahushua HaMashiach is sovereign to the glory of Elohim the Father. Did you catch that? All realms. Hades, Gehenna, paradise, this life, all realms. Yahweh's purpose is to purify and refine us, that all would come to the knowledge of the Father. You can come easy, or you can come screaming. But Yahusha is the way maker, because his transaction at the tree of Calvary made the exodus for us all possible. But his redemption is bigger than what we've been taught. His love is greater than what you and I could ever comprehend. And our hope should be even stronger. That no matter what trials, tribulations, or sufferings that you are going through now, accept them, embrace them, because this is your crucible. Embrace this life as the crucible. This is not the time to live your best life now. That's for the heathen. Because then they will get the crucible of the next life. I will embrace and accept the crucible of this life so that I can be in paradise in the next. Will you join me in this wonderful redemptive plan of Yahweh by staying close to the Son? Kiss the Son if you know his name. He is the mediator of the Brit Hadashah, the waymaker of the crucible. In Revelation chapter 21, verse 24, and the nations of those who are saved shall walk in its light, and the kings of the earth bring their glory and honor into it. And number 6, I did say 6, right? The consuming fire and the refining process. Who's the consuming fire? We'll close with this. I'll make it a two-parter. A lot for you to camp out on. Yahweh, of course, is the consuming fire. But not in a sense of destruction as we've been taught by religion, but in the sense of purification. The refining fire is meant to remove the dross. It is meant to purify the soul for eventual communion with Elohim. Because Yahweh loves his creation, and he found a way through the transaction of crucifixion and resurrection to redeem all of his creation to himself. But you can choose the light and easy yoke of the crucible of this life to enter into the paradise of the next. Or you can use and choose the hard way, which is live your best life now and embrace the crucible in the next life, which will be severe chastisement and suffering. Ultimately, we will see next week that love does not fail. Love does not fail. And ultimately, Yahweh's redemption is about his love. These are the keys of Solomon, and we're unlocking the doors of salvation through the blessed Son. We'll jump into chapter 3, part B next week. Shabbat Shalom. Lots to consider, short and sweet, but hopefully impactful. Put some comments in the comments section down below. Subscribe to the ministry channel. Please consider sending donations and support this work. And download the messages. Save them on your hard drives. You can always go over to Odyssey. We're backing everything up over on Odyssey. And look and enjoy the notes up on the website. Shabbat Shalom.